At Oak 93.5 here in Raleigh, North Carolina. We IUIC Raleigh. Myself, I'm Officer Nahum, who I got here to the right.
Officer Abraham.
All praises that we're gonna try to bring it out today. Bring it on out. The topic today that we're going over is unity. Unity. So that's one thing that, saying us as a people, we don't have unity amongst us. Okay? We all conquered and divided into all false nationalities, false religions, you name it, so on and so forth. So with that, give me the definition of unity.
Definition of unity. Unity, the state of being united or joined as a whole.
Right, so it says the state of being united or joined as a whole. So us as a people, we is not united, right? We ain't united at all. We ain't joined together. We're one whole big community. Why? Because what happens in our community?
It's a lot of killing, a lot of drugs being sold. It's a whole bunch of things. Like especially, I just saw something this morning in regards to unity, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think it was what's the name of that show that Whoopi Goldberg is on?
I forget the show. She got what is it? I can't remember the show.
Yeah,
I ain't seen it. I hadn't watched it in a while. I know it comes on like in the morning or something like that.
Yes. But I think it was a different cast and whatnot. But I had saw it this morning in regards to unity, and they had one of the women that came from Housewives, Atlanta Housewives.
Oh.
And
the drama show.
Yeah, it was a drama. So she came onto the show, and then it was like she was applauding women leaving their husbands and divorcing them, and then she was like, "Oh, because I went to." I started traveling. I became my own business owner, right? And then the guy came up and then he's like, "Well, you shouldn't applaud women for doing that." He said, "If anything, that's why you have 2 failed marriages and Whoopi over here is alone."
Uh-oh.
He said, y'all need to be mindful about how y'all do these things. Y'all need to, like children, progress when they have a 2-parent household.
Right.
So in regards to unity, to your point, go ahead.
Yeah, hey, that's heavy point there. You know what I'm saying? Our people, as we try to come together, guess what? There's always some negativity. There's always some fighting, some arguing, some gang violence. You name it. Even look, think about it. Even when we have our family reunions, right? So I mean, it's bad. Like a lot of us, we have to come together on a funeral. You know what I'm saying? And on the funeral times, think about it. You ain't seen that family member in years, and the only thing that's gonna bring us together is a family member or a friend that died. You know what I'm saying? That died from a sickness or whatever the case may be. But that's the only thing that usually bring us together. Read that definition one more time.
Unity, the state of being united or joined as a whole.
Right. So the state of being united or joined as a whole, okay? So that's something that lacks in our community, that lacks amongst our people, okay? So give me Zephaniah chapter 2 and verse 1. Because the Lord, what I'm saying, the Most High tell us, look, hey, we got to have this unity. We got to have this amongst our people. If we don't have this, guess what? You know what I'm saying? Hey, you ain't nothing.
Right.
Go ahead, read that.
This is the book of Zephaniah, chapter 2 and verse 1. Gather yourselves together, yea, gather together, O nation not desired.
Right, so we commanded to gather together. So gather yourselves together, yea, gather together, O nation not desired. Okay, so we that nation that's not desired. You know what I'm saying? We live in the ghetto, slums, the projects. We going through it. We in all type of midst of evil stuff, gangs, violence, adultery, whoredom. You name it. We all in the midst of all that madness, right? As a people. You got something to say on that?
Yeah, hey, read that again.
This is the book of Zephaniah, chapter 2 and verse 1.
Go ahead.
Gather yourselves together, yea, gather together, O nation not desired.
Right, because amongst all of the nations on the planet, and you was making this point, officer, amongst all the nations on the planet, we're the only one that doesn't classify ourselves as a nation. We see each other as blacks. We see each other as Hispanics. We don't look at each other as a nation. So the ones he's talking about here is the people who aren't desired, the people who don't classify themselves as a nation. He said gather together. Everybody else does. Go ahead.
Right. Hey, that's heavy. That everybody can gather together. You got the Caucasian people today. You got the Asian people. That go into the Chinese people. You got the Japanese people, the Arab people. Guess what? They're even the East Indians in them, right? We here in Raleigh. If you go to Morrisville
and Chapel Hill.
Even Cary. Guess what? You will see a big community of those East Indians. You know what I'm saying? That they out there, and guess what? they have a community together.
And even like, for example, in New York, right? These are all examples because, like, you know, back in the day, we had gathered together, but it was destroyed multiple times. Different towns we had this, some of y'all know what I'm talking about. You had Garvey, you had Denmark Vesey even further back. Rosewood, but in New York they have like Chinatown. They have their own little spot right there. They have what's some other? I'm not from New York, so I don't.
Yeah, they have, like, let's say like in North Carolina, Durham, right? Durham had what officers going into. He's talking about Black Wall Street. Okay, we had, think about it. We were just coming out of slavery during this time. You know, so we just come out of slavery. Even the Trail of Tears, they could go back to the so-called Native Americans too, as well, because we was all together. We was in those communities in Tulsa, Oklahoma. That's the most famous one is Tulsa, Oklahoma. So we, you know what I'm saying, we had a big community. We had banks. We had all type of stuff there that make a city thrive. You know what I'm saying? Like what we could read about in Sirach chapter, you know what I'm talking about, Sirach 39, is it 39 or 38? About a city can't be inhabited with all those things.
Yeah, Sirach 38.
Yeah, get that for me real quick. Let's get that real quick. Sirach 38 real quick. Because, you know, we just got to show you how these things, you know, with us having this information, you know what I'm saying, us coming together as a nation, we supposed to thrive. We supposed to be a big community, have our own nation, okay? But all that stuff got destroyed.
Start at 31.
Read what you got there.
This is the book of Sirach, chapter 38 and verse 31. 38 and verse 31. All these trust to their hands, and everyone is wise in his work.
Right, everyone is wise in his work. So, like, you know, when you read up, for those who never read this before, you start at verse 24 and you read on down, it goes into all these different type of businesses that takes place in a community or in a nation. Okay, like when you read back, you go back into the book of Genesis when you read about Cain, right? When Cain he built a city, right? How did he build that city? You know, the city had to be inhabited. There's other people there in that town or that city, and guess what? In order for him to build the city, he had to have the tools. He had to have the people that had the mindset of construction, you know, carpenters and all that stuff. So this goes into like a list of different type of people that have those offices. Right, so read that verse again in verse 31.
This is the book of Sirach, chapter 38 and verse 31. All these trust to their hands, and everyone is wise in his work.
Read.
Without these cannot a city be inhabited.
Hear that said. Without these cannot a city be inhabited. Right. So, you know, it touches on that when you. I forgot to bring that book. I wish I could have brought the book. You know, from Babylon to Timbuktu.
I was thinking about that book. It had the different. Different little things that we did before we got brought over here.
Right. It showed you that we had knowledge, we had wisdom. You got to think about it. Hey, how did we build them pyramids over there in Egypt? You know what I'm saying? How did the Native Americans build pyramids here in America? Right. You know, we can see the pyramids and the temples. That thing, you had to have some math, arithmetic, science, all the stuff we had in us. Okay. Matter of fact, we could bring something out here. We bring something out biblical. I didn't even have it in there. We go to Daniel chapter 1 real quick. Go there right fast. We'll go to Daniel and we'll show you what Nebuchadnezzar, he known this stuff right here. He said, hey, we got to get these people here because they have these knowledge right here. So, you know what I want. Daniel 1 and let's see here real quick. Start at verse 2. We'll start at, Actually, start at verse 1.
This is the book of Daniel, chapter 1 and verse 1.
Read.
In the 3rd year of the reign of Joachim, king of Judah, came Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, unto Jerusalem and besieged it.
Right, so this is going in history right here. This is when Israel, Judea, Judah, you know, so the land of Judea, this is going into the tribe of Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. Okay, this is the Jews. Those 3 tribes make up the Jews, and they were besieged by the Babylonians, who are the what you call Iraqis today, and what they call themselves Chaldeans or Chaldeans in Arabic, because the H is silent. Read.
And the Lord gave Joachim, king of Judah, into his hands, with part of the vessels of the house of God, which he carried into the land of Shinar.
Shinar is the ancient name of Iraq today. Okay, read.
To the house of his God, and he brought the vessels into the treasures house of his God.
Right. So he took all our vessels, all that stuff, all our holy things, except for the Ark of the Covenant. Okay, he took all those other stuff. And he had it in his temple of his God. Okay, read.
And the king spake unto Ashpenaz, the master of his eunuchs, that he should bring certain of the children of Israel, and of the king's seed, and of the princes.
Right. So now he said, we got to bring certain ones. He didn't say bring all of them. He said there's certain ones of the king's seed, okay? This royal seed right here, it has some wisdom and some knowledge. We're going to read about. Read.
Children in whom was no blemish.
Right, no blemish. I mean, they had perfect color. You know what I'm saying? They wasn't blotchy in their skin. You know, they wasn't light skin or dark skin on one side. There was no blemish in them, okay?
It was ruddy.
Ruddy.
They were ruddy. That, not red. That means they had no blemish. They were ruddy. That's what it's talking about.
Right. Read.
But well favored and skillful in all wisdom.
Hear that right there. Read that again. It was what?
And well favored.
Well favored, right? Read.
And skillful in all wisdom.
It had skillful in all wisdom, right? What is the wisdom? Remember that what we read back here in Sirach 39, right? They said all these are wise in their hands, right? That wisdom. They said they had all that skillful, right? Read.
And cunning and knowledge and understanding science.
Understanding what?
Science.
See, that's science right there. Hey, our forefathers and them were smart. You know what I'm saying? Hey, they didn't, you know what I'm saying? They weren't no dummies like what we see today. You know what I'm saying? They had knowledge. They understood science. Okay, read.
And such as had ability in them to stand in the king's palace.
Hear that? They had to be able to stand in the king's palace. What is that going into? Stand in the king's palace, meaning they had these men were well mannered. Okay, they knew how to speak in front of people of higher stature. You know what I'm saying? Like in order for you to speak amongst a king or a president or a judge, a lawyer, you gotta have wisdom in your speak and your talk and how you conduct yourself. I mean, you can't be no wicked person or talk all foolish and stuff like that. People are gonna look at you crazy, but they didn't. These men understood that, right? Read.
In whom they might teach the learning and the tongue of the Chaldeans.
Right. Them, so that way they could teach them that language. Why? But they were forced to become eunuchs. Okay. Why? Because they had to be in the king's palace. What's in the king's palace? Their women. They're gonna have their women amongst them. So the certain children that they're talking about. Let's go jump to verse 6.
Verse 6. Now among these were the children of Judah, Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah.
Right, so all them, those three right there, that's what you would call, it was going into those four, outside of Daniel, but it was going into the three holy children along with Daniel, right? They were known, and guess what? They were forced to become eunuchs. They got their manhood cut off and chopped off, okay? Why? So that they wouldn't mess up and sleep around with the women or have, what do you call it, fornication and stuff like that. So they had to do that thing, you know what I'm saying? So that productive organ don't work. So they don't have that, they don't get what you would call it, had to have get horny or whatever.
Yeah, they didn't want any of us to sleep with the ones that were in there, the Chaldeans that was in there. They wanted them to be able to focus on the king's office. Right. The book that was referenced was Babylon Timbuktu, and that's another one. This book called Black Pioneers of Science and Invention is by Louis Haber. So it's Black Pioneers of Science and Invention. A lot of the stuff that's used today, the inventions that we use freely today, such as things like I'll even say this, stop sign, stop light, washer, dryer, you name it. A lot of things that you didn't even think about. They have black men and women that invented those things. And it's proven. Black Pioneers in Science and Invention is one of those books that have it. Babylon Timbuktu also mentions, and I was trying to find the page while I was over here. But we were artificers, we were treasurers, we were kings, princes, jewelers, we were architects, engineers. All of these things we were before we had got brought over on this side. The common misconception is this. When in 1619, depending on, I know they don't teach it that much now in school today, but in 1619, who were we before 1619? Who did we serve before 1619? What did we look like? How did we dress? What was our conduct? How did we speak one to another? Did we rule the world at that time?
Right.
Where were we at? Were we? They always say, or we always hear, that we were just monkeys swinging from trees. We was in a very poor, like how it looks damn near right now. They was like, oh, let's get those poor, sorry looking black people, and let's bring them on ships and bring them over this way. But what were we? We were the inventors. We were kings. We ruled that side of the world, and then there was a war that had happened. When we lost the war, we became war captives, and it didn't come first from Africa. It came first from Spain, and the Pope had did that. The Pope had signed an executive order, or a papal bull is like what it's called in history. And he had said, go and get them, and then bring them over towards the west coast of Africa, the Ivory Coast, the Gold Coast, and then from there bring them all over on this side of the world, the Western Hemisphere. Real quick, go to Deuteronomy chapter 28. Let me show you what hinders our unity. What really hinders our unity is the fact that we don't have knowledge. And the priest, the so-called priests today, the pastors today, fail to teach you proper good knowledge. They fail to give you good sense because they have no sense. Watch, let me show you something. Give me that. Deuteronomy 28:68.
This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28 and verse 68.
Read 15 for me, please.
Verse 15.
Go ahead.
But it shall come to pass.
Back up from the mic just a little bit. Go ahead.
But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe to do all his commandments.
So he said, if you don't do all God's commandments. Now, the whole Bible is based off of a certain people, and is based off of his commandments being kept. If you do them, good things follow. If you don't, now you have a whole Bible full of stuff to read about what happens when you don't keep his commandments. Watch, come on.
In his statutes, which I command thee this day.
You don't do what God says, go ahead.
That all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee.
So the thing that we have to figure out is, if we're reading something that happened, right here, and it says curses are going to come upon a people, then who is this going to look like today? If this is it, let's see, verse 68.
Verse 68.
Come on.
And the Lord shall bring thee.
So now, the people that he's talking about, that he's talking to, he said, you have to keep my commandments. If you don't, then bad things are going to follow. So whoever he's talking about, this happened to them. Read that from the top again.
And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again.
So he said he'll bring you into Egypt again. Now, Egypt, before the Israelites, that's what he's talking about. He's talking about the Israelites. They were in Egypt before. This time he said, I'm going to bring you back into that same kind of slavery, but this time how?
With ships.
So here's the question you got to ask yourself. Who in the world went into slavery with ships? Who was brought from one side of the earth to the other side of the earth on ships? That's who he's talking about. He said, you people, if you don't keep my commandments, then all these curses. So what is slavery? A curse. That's what he's saying. Read it from the top again.
Verse 68.
Come on.
And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again.
So, hey, I want you to do me a favor. When you read Egypt, say slavery. Let's see what happens. Come on.
And the Lord shall bring thee into slavery again.
Go ahead.
With ships.
See how that connect? Go ahead.
By the way whereof I spake unto thee. Thou shalt see it no more again.
That Egypt that you once left from, you ain't gonna see that again. But this time you're gonna go into a new Egypt, and you're gonna see this one, and you're gonna get there by ship. Go ahead.
And there ye shall be sold unto your enemies.
You'll be sold unto your enemies, black man and black woman. Go ahead.
For bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you.
Nobody would redeem us. That's why I also was bringing out earlier, and he was hinting at it. We had Marcus Garveyites, right? He tried to redeem us back in the 20s when he had his ships, he had his industry, he had economics. Everybody loved economics. He tried it. Nope. What about Martin Luther King? Now, it's no disrespect to these men. These men are great at what they did. They are influencers. They were leaders. There would never be any disrespect come out of our mouth about these men. They were good.
Hey, look, those men, they helped pave the way for us to do the things that we could do today.
Right. They helped pave the way. There will never be disrespect come out of our mouth about those men. But they did not redeem us from the curses God said will come upon us because we didn't keep his commandments. Marcus Garvey, he tried and it didn't help. Right? Sojourner Truth, there was a woman. She tried, didn't help. Harriet Tubman, she tried, didn't help. Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Denmark Vesey. What's the? They had the movie Birth of a Nation.
Nat Turner.
Nat Turner. All of these tried, did not help. Even some of your revolutionaries that was in Africa, some of your revolutionaries that was in Puerto Rico, all of those places it didn't help.
That's right. Even Gad. You know, you had what is it? You got that thing of Mount Rushmore.
Yeah.
Like they had one with the Native American faces on there. Guess what? Some of those leaders, guess what? They got killed. They got destroyed. You know what I'm saying? All that stuff happened. You know, even though they took up and fought for us during that time, during their time, you know what I'm saying, as they lived, they did great things, but it couldn't save their people.
Right.
Okay, so with that, go back to I want you to touch on go to Baruch real quick. Baruch chapter 3 and verse 36. And we still speaking about this knowledge, right? So the Most High, he gave all this stuff to the Israelites, you know, like what we was talking about. Hey, like a city can't be inhabited, right? So when they came and got us, guess what? We was already full of knowledge and wisdom, and because y'all remember we had our own kingdom.
I'm gonna find that.
Yeah, go ahead find it. Yeah, we had our own kingdom. You know what I'm saying? We had our own kingdom. I remember Solomon had a temple. We built that thing. You know, we had pyramids. We had all that stuff in our land. Okay, you got that for me?
Yes, this is the book of Baruch, chapter 3 and verse 36. He hath found out all the way of knowledge, and he hath given it unto Jacob.
To Jacob, our forefather. Jacob's name was changed to Israel. Jacob had 12 sons. Those are the 12 tribes of Israel. That's the Israelites. Read.
His servant, and to Israel his beloved.
Right, he showed all the way of knowledge and had given it unto Jacob, right? He given it to the Israelites. He didn't give it to no other nation, you know. So you got to ask yourself, what is everybody talking about? You know, the Bible is not an inclusive book for the whole world. No, it's for the world of Israel. Okay. With that, give me I want you to go back to where we just left off at here real quick. Go back to Zephaniah 2:1 real quick. Did you find that, officer?
I did.
All right, hold up. Officer he found that thing.
I did.
Touch on that real quick. Show it right now.
So now check this out. Now in the book called Babylon Timbuktu, apologetics love to try to find holes inside of this, but you can't find holes inside of the history here. I'm gonna read just a little up from what we usually do because I found something interesting.
Yeah, remember who the book was written by Rudolph R. Winsor.
Rudolph R. Winsor, thank you. Yeah. So check this out. A lot of people know, especially Black Power and they like Mansa Musa, right? Watch this. I'm gonna read it. It says the Jews imported into the western part of Africa a superior material, educational, and moral culture soon after 300 AD. Now, around this time, this would be considered the Dark Ages. We were ruling in the Dark Ages. The time that it says the Middle Ages, that was us ruling. Watch this. And this cultural advancement was not duplicated or exceeded until the ascendancy of the Mohammedan leader Mansa Kankin Musa of Mali in 1312 AD. Now, I'm going to jump down. The Black Jews.
The who?
The Black Jews had an advantage over the African tribes. Now, Black is different from African.
Yeah. So yeah, I just want to touch on those African tribes that it's talking about. Those are Nilotic tribes, Hamitic tribes. Yes. Okay, there's a difference. There's a difference. Okay, they're different from the Black Jews, which are Shemitic.
Right.
All right.
Or Bantu.
Right. Ashanti. All that stuff.
So the Black Jews had an advantage over the African tribes. They carried their culture. So the culture that we read about from 300 AD, they carried their culture, history, laws, and written records with them. This assured them a constant precedent for the development of a higher social organization, or, like we was talking about today, unity, right? So what helped them with that unity? Because of the stability of the Black Jewish culture, the Jews were not absorbed into the I don't know how to say this word, it's a very big word, population. They didn't absorb into everybody else. It says, in fact, the Jews absorbed some of the native tribes. The Jews made use of every opportunity. They were an industrious and skillful people.
Hear that thing about the industrial? Remember what we was reading about? We didn't read all the industrial stuff, but remember it said they were wise in their hands and their work. That goes into industrial type work. Go ahead.
In the Jewish Ghanaian states were found kings, princes. Listen to all of these. Listen to what Black people were before we became slaves and Negroes, right? Look at what we became. We were kings, princes, governors, generals, secretaries, treasurers, revenue agents, judges, architects, engineers, doctors, historians, language interpreters, mathematicians, jewelers, sculptors, masons, carpenters, painters of art, goldsmiths, leatherworkers, potters, armorers, saddlers, blacksmiths, agriculturists, etc.
Hey, that's heavy there, man. Hey, that's a big thing there. You know what I'm saying? It shows you that we had all that wisdom and all that knowledge of, you know what I'm saying, of what our people had as a nation, right? So go back and read that in Zephaniah 2:1 real quick.
This is the book of Zephaniah, chapter 2 and verse 1. Gather yourself together, yea, gather together, O nation not desired.
So we're that nation, you know what I'm saying, that had all that skill, all that wisdom, and we're not desired as a people, okay? So give me the definition of nation real quick. What is the definition of nation? Okay, read that. You got that?
Yes, sir. The definition of nation.
The part that says a large body.
A large body of people united by common descent,
Uh-huh.
history, culture, or language, inhabiting a peculiar country or territory.
Hear that? So read that. Let's read that definition one more time. We're going to break it down.
Definition of nation. A large body of people.
Right, so we are a large body of people, right? We here, you know, but they called us different names. We broken up. Now you call black, African, Negro, a Hispanic, Native American. You got all these bywords, okay, that's given to us, but you're not being called by your God-given name. Read.
United by common descent.
Said we're supposed to be united by a common descent. We're supposed to have something in common, okay, but we don't have things in common. Everything that we try to associate ourselves with is evil, okay? That's gangs. We think that's our culture. Hip hop. We think hip hop is our culture. Read on.
History.
History, right? We're supposed to have that same history, right? The history what it's going into is this Bible, where we can read about our forefathers, right? We talk about Romans 15:4, like whatsoever things written aforetime were written for our learning, that through patience and comfort of the scriptures that we might have hope. Read.
Culture.
Your culture, right? So those are things that you eat, you know what I'm saying, your food, you got which goes into your dietary law. All that stuff here is mentioned here in the Bible what we're supposed to get. Read.
Or language.
Your language that you spoke, right? The language that we spoke was Hebrew. Okay, there's historical books that show that the Native Americans on this side, they spoke Hebrew. When they got the slaves from the west coast of Africa and different parts of Europe, guess what? They spoke Hebrew. Read.
Inhabiting a particular country or territory.
Right, because we're not in our homeland, right? We're not in where we supposed to be at. Go to Galatians 4:26 real quick. Galatians 4:26. You got something you want to bring out real quick, officer?
No, go ahead.
All right, give me Galatians 4:26. This touches on where our homeland is, okay? Because right now, you know what I'm saying, you ask somebody, where's your homeland? Where's your motherland? You know, what is the motherland? They're going to say Africa, right? So there's a whole bunch of different slew of countries that's in Africa. But it is in Africa, but we got to find out where at, all right? Read what you got.
This is the book of Galatians chapter 4 and verse 26. But Jerusalem.
Who?
But Jerusalem.
So let you know Jerusalem, which is Northeast Africa, not the Middle East. Middle East is a new thing that came up. All that was called Northeast Africa, but which is part of the land of Canaan, okay? The land of Canaan in the Bible. Read.
But Jerusalem, which is above, is free, which is the mother of us all.
Which is the motherland, okay? That was the Garden of Eden, okay? That's where Adam was created from the earth, right there, okay? In Jerusalem, okay? That's what that's going into, all right, Jackson?
Yeah. Let me say something real quick. What helps with the unity is marriage. What helps with the unity is marriage. When we have a failed, per se, marital system with us in our community, then that's what's going to help. That's what's going to hinder our unity. We need to be able to know how to stay within our own race. We need to stay within our own race. Let me show you real quick. Sirach 26:20. Get that real quick.
Yeah, Sirach chapter 26 and verse 20.
Right.
This is the book of Sirach, chapter 26 and verse 20. When thou hast gotten a fruitful possession.
Right. So this right here, marriage. Watch this. Go ahead.
Through all the field, sow it with thy own seed.
Read.
Trusting in the goodness of thy stock.
Go ahead.
So thy race.
So thy what?
So thy race.
So your race. This is how you know it's talking about being together one with another, marriage. Go ahead.
Which thou leavest shall be magnified,
So
having the confidence of their good descent.
So having the confidence of their good descent. So that being said, we have to be mindful about what kind of things we do as an example to our young and to our nation. When we have these relations with other races, right? Because they had a situation that happened not too long ago. When we have these situations that happen with other races, then, for example, I forget the thing. They had a brother that wound up getting killed because he was married or he was with another race of women. If he had stayed with his own race, now he probably would have went through some crap because he had went through that with his own. But if he had just followed through with what the Bible says, he would, or if he knew what the Bible says, then he probably would have been all right. He would have definitely been all right. But marriage is one of those things that happens to hinder unity because we don't like to either stay married or we don't like to be with our own race. All right, you give me that again.
This is the book of Sirach, chapter 26, verse 21.
Matter of fact, read Hebrews 13:4.
This is the book of Hebrews, chapter 13 and verse 4.
Mm-hmm.
Marriage is honorable in all, and the bed undefiled. But whoremongers and adulterers, God will judge.
Right, whoremongers and adulterers, God will judge. God will judge. God ain't with boyfriend, girlfriend. He ain't with that. He don't rock with that. Okay? He's with unity underneath marriage with male and female, right? He's with unity with that. Anything outside of that union right there, he ain't with it. However you want to slice that up, he's not with it. If it's not male and female together and there's marriage with that, he ain't with it.
Right. Yeah, he ain't with that thing. You know what I'm saying? He wants you to sow it with your own seed. He wants you to be with your nation, your people. Because if not, if you go outside of that, guess what? You hate your nation. That's what Officer bringing out there. I'm glad he brought that out about the about that. Go to Sirach chapter 25 and verse 1 real quick. Go there real quick. Sirach 25 and 1. And that goes into this part here goes into the marriage, and it goes into us as a nation. You know what I'm saying? How we supposed to be in our community amongst our people. Okay? So read what you got.
This is the book of Sirach, chapter 25 and verse 1. In 3 things I was beautified and stood up beautiful both before God and man.
Right. So this thing here is a beautiful thing. This was stood up both beautiful before God and man. The most important thing, this thing is beautiful in the eyes of the Most High. Okay? So read what you got.
The unity of brethren.
So he let us know the unity of brethren, right? We got to have that unity amongst each other. You know, us meaning being peaceful, having good times together. We ain't arguing, gang banging and stuff like that, or beefing with one another. Read.
The love of neighbors.
The who?
The love of neighbors.
Right. So there ain't no neighborly rivalry. You know what I'm saying? Me and him fighting over some foolishness. You know what I'm saying? He stepped on my yard, or his dog used the bathroom in my yard. The next thing you know, we fighting, we beefing. Our kids got issues against each other, and it turns us against each other. But we should be able to work those things out, talk it out amongst ourselves as being civilized people. Right? Read.
A man and a wife.
A who?
A man and a wife that agreed together.
Right, a man and a wife that agreed together. He didn't say a man and his girlfriend. He didn't say a girl and her boyfriend. It said a man and his wife, meaning they're a marital couple. Okay, and there's no issues. It's showing there's no single family household. Okay. You don't see the mother by herself, or they call each other baby mamas and baby daddies. That's a new thing here on the earth. We ain't never called ourselves that. You'll never see that word in the Bible. You know what I'm saying? Baby mama, baby daddy. Or you got baby mama drama, baby daddy drama. So that thing is not beautiful in the eyes of the Lord. Okay, and then it's not. What do you call it? It shows you that it's not a nucleus household. You don't have a nucleus family, but when you see TV, they portray, you see most, like, what do you call it, so-called African American shows. Guess what? It's always usually a single family household. You got the mom by herself, coming up. She ain't got no man in the house. You know what I'm saying? Or she live in the projects. Or the man, he ain't doing nothing. He's struggling. It just shows you there's always arguing and bickering back and forth. Okay, chest bumping. So read that again.
In 3 things I was beautified and stood up beautiful both before God and man. The unity of brethren, the love of neighbors, a man and a wife that agreed together.
Right, a man and a wife that agreed together. That thing there is beautiful. That's what we're supposed to have as a nation, because the nation start with a marriage, between a husband and wife. Guess what? They start having children. Think about how Adam and Eve started. Boom. Hey, now you have a population of people, right? But everything was through marriage. Okay. All right, go to, I want you to, let's see here real quick. Let's see here my notes. go to read that definition again one more time of nation.
Nation, definition. A large body of people united by common descent, history, culture, or language, inhabiting a peculiar country or territory.
Right. So that was us in our territory at one time. One upon a time, we had that unity amongst ourselves. But guess what? You know, something happened. You know, us start breaking the commandments. We want to lean on our own understanding. Guess what? Then we go further away from the Most High God. So also in the midst of this right here, you know, go to Psalms 83 and 1 real quick. Or you can start at verse 2. Psalms 83 and 2 real quick. Because we gotta find out there's other people, that other nations that play a part of us being separate, okay, or us not knowing who we are, us having not being united as one, right? Read.
This is the book of Psalms, chapter 83 and verse 2. For lo, thy enemies make a tumult.
Right. So this is our forefather David. You know, this is going into Asaph, right? Asaph is showing us something here in the spirit. He said, you know what? Our enemies make a tumult, meaning an angry gathering, right? So they speaking against us, right? Read. And he's talking about, he said, the Lord, you have enemies, your enemies, which is, we're going to touch on who these enemies are. Read.
And they that hate thee have lifted up the head.
Right. They that hate you, God, they lift up their head, meaning in pride, right? Because why? They in rulership, right? Read.
They have taken crafty counsel against thy people.
They have taken crafty counsel. What is crafty counsel? Crafty meaning something trickery. You know, they got a counsel. This thing here is hidden, and we don't know nothing about it. Okay, so they taking crafty counsel against thy people. Who's God's people? The Israelites, the so-called blacks, Hispanics, Native Americans today. Read.
And consulted against thy hidden ones.
Because we the ones that's hidden. We the ones don't know who we are. You know, I get 5 or 10 different people and get 5 or 10 different answers. You know what I'm saying? That's why we can't come together, because this person thinking I'm an African. You know what I'm saying? They think they Nilotic, or they think they an Egyptian because they see all the stuff that the Egyptians had did, but they don't realize you built that. You was the slaves that built that back during the time of Pharaoh, during the time of Moses and you know Joseph. Right? Read.
They have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation.
They said, come and this is what they said. They came together, that crafty council said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation. Remember back in Zephaniah 2 and 1 said, gather yourselves together, O nation not desired. Guess what? So they came together in one consent to say, we're going to cut them off from being a nation. Okay? So that what? Read on.
That the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance.
Right. This is why you don't remember who you are. So that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. So now you got to sit there and be like, dang, why we don't remember that we the Israelites? Why we don't remember that thing? You know what I'm saying? Good. Hold that real quick. I want you to go to Jeremiah chapter 17 and verse 4 real quick. So we're gonna hit on this point here real quick. Our forefather Jeremiah, he was prophesying about this thing. He seen this in a vision that the Most High showed him. Okay, you got that for me?
Yes, sir. This is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 17 and verse 4. And thou, even thyself, shall discontinue from thy heritage.
Hear that? He said, even me. He said, and y'all. He said, we're gonna discontinue from our heritage. Okay, that God gave us. Meaning we're gonna lose. We're gonna forget who we are. Read it again.
And thou, even thyself, shall discontinue from thy heritage that I gave thee, and I will cause thee to serve thy enemies.
Hear that? I'm gonna cause you to serve your enemies. Why? Read on.
In the land which thou knowest not.
That's why, you know what I'm saying, the so-called African Americans don't know this land over here. You know what I'm saying? They came over here on the slave ships. They shipped some Native Americans and Hispanics off to Spain, to Europe, to other different parts of the world. They throughout the Caribbeans. They shipped. This was big business. They were shipping all the slaves, all the dark-skinned people to these different areas. Okay, which are the Israelites, not the Nilotic tribes, but he took God's chosen people. Read.
For ye have kindled a fire in my anger.
So we kindled a fire in anger the Holy One. Right. Read.
Which shall burn forever.
Right. So all this right here, at this time, the Most High was angry with us. He said, you know what? You're gonna discontinue from your heritage, and I'm gonna be angry with you. I'm gonna be against you. All right. So now we see about this heritage, right? So Go to I want you to read. Go to Sirach chapter 17 and 11 real quick. So Sirach 17 and 11 are going to show you what is the heritage that we discontinue as a nation, as a people, which God has divided. Read.
This is the book of Sirach, chapter 17, verse 11. Besides this, he gave them knowledge and the law of life for inheritance.
Hear that? He gave them knowledge and the law of life for inheritance. That's what our heritage was, God's law, statutes, and commandments, okay? That's what we lost our way. We forgot, who our maker was. We don't even know what he looked like, you know what I'm saying, as a nation. We can get a whole bunch of kids, and they'll point at the Caucasian image, which is Cesar Borgia. If you point at the other image, the true image, they don't even know. They don't know who that is. They think that's the devil, which is crazy. So now, I want you to I want you to give me the definition of heritage real quick. You got something, officer?
Yeah, I was thinking about something. A part of the reason, like, real quick, before you get to the definition of heritage, I want you to go to Jeremiah chapter 2, verse 8. I want you to go to Jeremiah chapter 2 and verse 8 real quick.
Jeremiah 2 and 8.
You got me?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
This is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 2 and verse 8.
Let me see if that's it. Yep, that's it. Go ahead.
The priest said not, where is the Lord?
So now, the priest, right here. Well, it's going to say who it is, who it's going to talk about. Go ahead.
And they that handled the laws knew me not.
And they that handle the law knew me not. Go ahead.
The pastors.
The who?
The pastors.
The pastors. So the ones it's talking about is the pastors, right? When this Bible comes out the way that it's supposed to come out, it's all out war against Christianity and these pastors, these false prophets out there. They don't know who God is, and they don't ask to really figure out who he is to be able to deliver that information to the people. Give me that again. Read that from the top.
The priest said not.
So the priest did not say, go ahead.
Where is the Lord?
They didn't ask or really try to find where is the Lord. If they did, then they would have started to go precept upon precept, giving proper doctrine, proper understanding. Go ahead.
And they that handled the law.
And they that handle the law, like they hold this book and then they use it and lie on it. Go ahead.
Knew me not.
They don't know God. Go ahead.
The pastors also transgressed against me.
They transgressed and committed sin against God. Go ahead.
And the prophets prophesied by Baal.
So they prophesied by Baal. So now you got to wonder, who is this Baal? Who is this devil that they prophesied by? The one who you call Jesus that has the pale skin, right? They prophesied by that. What's one of the things that they prophesied by? Hold that real quick. I'm about to go on it just for a second.
Go ahead.
John 3:16.
Uh-oh.
They prophesied by Baal.
Uh-oh. So now he's going to be about to bring out the most quoted scripture that you see on the back of people's cars, you see on people's shirts.
Yeah.
Hey, look, even what's his name had it on this doing wrestling. What's his name? Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Yeah. Steph Curry have it on his shoes before he played basketball. Hey, read that.
This is the book of John, chapter 3 and verse 16.
Now, all of this that we're reading, you can go in a lot of ways with this, but all of what we're reading is the reason why we're not unified. Because if we don't know our God, then we'll never be unified. It's not like that with every other race. Every other race, they have their own little thing that they can do. They can be whatever they want to be and still be unified. But when we don't come to our God, then we will never be unified. Because we have priests among our own that's of our own that prophesied by the devil. And the devil's doctrine starts out like this. Let me show you an example. Give me that.
This is the book of John, chapter 3, verse 16.
Watch.
For God so loved the world.
I can hear the Christian now. Go ahead.
That he gave his only begotten Son.
Read.
That whosoever believe in him shall not perish, but have everlasting life.
Now, if I was to just, as it is, without breaking it down, leave it right there, you'd be like, everybody on the planet can be saved. God loves the entire world as it is, and everyone in it. He didn't give this law, he didn't give this Bible to everybody on the planet. All you have to do, Christians, is read a little up. Go up a little bit.
Verse 14.
Watch.
And as Moses lifted up the serpent in the wilderness.
Pause. Now, you have to ask, did he lift up that serpent to everybody, that like all nations, every nation on the planet in the wilderness? No. That wasn't to every nation on the planet. It was only to the Israelites. Go ahead.
As Moses lifted up the serpent in the wilderness,
Go ahead.
even so must the Son of Man be lifted up.
So the same example how Moses, think very hard about this for a second. Don't think too hard. You might hurt yourself. He said, as Moses lifted up the serpent in the wilderness. Let's find out who he did that to real quick. Go to Numbers real quick. Because it said the prophets prophesied by Baal. The pastors prophesied by Baal. They used John 3:16, Galatians 3:28, 1 Timothy 4:4. They used these little doctrines, these scriptures that they got from the slave Bible back when we was on a plantation. They used those scriptures and then they say, hey, we give y'all this, give y'all a little something, and we may have whipped your back, we may have did horrible things to you, but believe in Jesus. And by the way, Jesus looks like us. And that's not true. God don't look like them. Jesus don't look like them. He look like us. Watch. Come on.
This is the book of Numbers, chapter 21 and verse 5.
They want to spit in our face and then say they didn't spit. Come on, read that again.
This is the book of Numbers, chapter 21 and verse 5.
Go ahead.
And the people spake against God and against Moses.
So I want verse 6.
Verse 6.
Go ahead.
And the Lord sent fiery serpents among the people.
So now this is going into the history that mentioned in John chapter 3 verse 16. All of what I'm bringing out, I want you to forget, plays into why we're not unified. When we're taught false doctrines, when we're taught wrong ways, when we're taught by prophets of Baal, we will never be unified. So let's correct that for a second. Go ahead.
And the Lord sent fiery serpents among the people. And they bit the people. And much people of Israel.
Go ahead.
Died.
Read.
Therefore the people came to Moses and said, we have sinned, for we have spoken against the Lord.
Read a little faster.
And against thee. Pray unto the Lord, and he take away the serpents from us.
So now let's see what Moses did. Go ahead.
And Moses prayed for the people. And the Lord said unto Moses,
Read.
make thee a fiery serpent, and set it upon a pole. And it shall come to pass that everyone that is bitten, when he look upon it,
when he look upon the serpent that was lifted up in the wilderness, go ahead,
shall live. And Moses made a serpent of brass.
So now pause right there. What I want you to do, go back to John chapter 3 verse 14. I want you to hear something that's very key. Watch this.
See, he bringing that out there. Hey, somebody getting mad. Somebody getting angry about this thing. You know that, right?
Yeah, man. Let's go.
This is the book of John, chapter 3.
Verse 14. You should never drop it. Let's go.
And verse 14. And as Moses lifted up the serpent in the wilderness, even so must the Son of Man
Even so must the Son of Man, must the Son of Man. So if the serpent was lifted up in the wilderness to Israel, right? The Son of Man is going to be lifted up to who? Israel. That's who he's talking about. He said the same way how back in the past Moses had to lift up the serpent so that way you won't die if it bit you and you look upon it and have life, the same way that the Son of Man will be lifted up so that way you Israelites can have everlasting life, that you can live forever. That's what he's talking about right here. It's going back into the history. You cannot use the Bible, you false pastors and prophets. You cannot use it and then spit on it by bringing your false doctrines and your garbage into our brains. You can't do that. No. Real understanding comes out with this. When you go precept upon precept. Go ahead.
And as Moses lifted up the serpent in the wilderness,
go ahead.
Even so must the Son of Man be lifted up.
Even so must the Son of Man, must Jesus Christ, the black Messiah, must be lifted up. Go ahead.
That whosoever
of who? The same ones, the same people who had sort of brass and serpent back in the wilderness. That's the same ones that's going to see Christ lifted up. The Israelites.
Believing in him.
But whosoever of the Israelites believe on him
shall not perish.
Won't die.
But have eternal life.
But have eternal life. Now read now verse 16.
Verse 16.
Read.
For God so loved the world.
Which world? The ones who he lifted up the serpent to in the wilderness. The Israelites. Go ahead.
That he gave his only begotten son.
He gave his only begotten son. He's talking about Christ. He's talking about us, that we're going to have that grace underneath. Go ahead.
That whosoever believe in him.
That whosoever believe in him, who believe in Christ, us believe in Christ. Go ahead.
Should not perish.
Should not die.
But have everlasting life.
We won't feel that second death. That's what he's talking about. We won't feel that. We will have everlasting life. Your flesh consumes away. It does. Your flesh consumes away. But the death that it's talking about, real quick. Yeah, Revelation chapter 20 and verse 12.
This is the book of Revelation, chapter 20 and verse 12.
Watch.
And I saw the dead, small and great,
Read.
stand before God.
Read.
And the books were open.
Read.
And another book was open, which is the book of life.
So at the end of it all, right, you're going to have a book of everything that you did, and then you're going to have the Bible. And there's going to be a comparison. Go ahead.
And the dead were judged out of those things.
So once this place is destroyed, there's going to be a time again after rulership, after that time with Christ. There's going to be a time where he's bringing everybody back, and then he's going to be like, all right, let's see what you did, and let's compare it to the laws inside the Bible. You want to make sure that you don't have to take part in this by keeping the commandments now. And when you keep the commandments, guess what that's going to force? Unity. That's what it's going to force. Go ahead.
Which were written in the books according to their works.
So read on.
And the sea gave up the dead, which were in it. And death and hell delivered up the dead, which were in them. And they will judge every man according to their works.
According to what you did during this life. Go ahead. And your other lives. Go ahead.
And death and hell were cast into the lake of fire.
Read.
This is the second death.
So when it's talking about should have everlasting life, you're going to live forever. You're not going to take part in that. That only goes to the Israelites. When Christ had died and gave us grace, it's just like a bank. I gave you a loan. 30 days. You told me at the end of the 30 days you couldn't actually pay back on the loan after those 30 days are done. So you know what I do? I give you as a creditor, you're in debt. I'm gonna give you some time, longer than 30 days. I'm gonna give you now 60 days, right, to pay back the loan. If you don't pay back the loan in that amount of time, that's a grace period. I'm giving you a grace period so that way you can get right. If you don't pay back the loan within that time, what you think gonna happen? Whatever I had loaned you, I'm taking it back. In this case, we got life, right? Christ came, he died for only one people. And he told that people, blacks, Hispanics, Native Indians, you have a certain time to get yourselves right. So if we don't get ourselves right according to the grace period we got, guess what he's going to require? Our life.
Our life.
That's what John 3:16 is talking about. Read John 3:16 one more time.
It's the book of John, chapter 3 and verse 16.
And then after I'm done with that, back to Jeremiah, and I'm going to give it back to us. Go ahead.
For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son,
Read.
that whosoever believe in him should not perish,
Right.
but have everlasting life.
But have everlasting life. They won't see death. Or like he had told the man that was on the cross next to him, he's like, you're going to be with me in paradise. You know why he said that to him? It's not that he just said at that very moment, oh, I believe, because a lot of Christians like to say that. That ain't what he did. They had a prison ministry at the time, and they taught the brother that was in prison, and when it was time for him to be delivered up to die, he believed in Christ while he was in prison, and then when Christ had saw him right there on the cross, he was like, you're going to come with me, because he was already a believer.
That's right.
He already had believed. It ain't like you can just go ahead and get inside of this kingdom without no works. You have to have works, with faith included, because you had to have faith that you did right. And if you follow after these pastors that prophesy of Baal, go back to Jeremiah now.
This is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 2 and verse 8.
Watch this.
The priest said not,
Go ahead.
where is the
They
Lord?
didn't inquire about God. Go ahead.
And they that handled the law
And they that handle this book,
knew me not.
they don't really go precept upon precept. Pastors do not know. Apologetics, apologetics don't know. Go ahead.
The pastors also transgressed against me.
They extract tithes from the people, saying that tithes is actually money, where really, that's supposed to be crops. That's supposed to be the wine.
Yep.
It's supposed to go in the treasure house.
Hey, it's supposed to go into what do you call it? A sacrifice.
Yeah, it's supposed to go. That tithing went into sacrificing, right? That they misuse and mishandle the people. They give counsel on marriages, and then they want to commit adultery on the marriage that they counsel. These pastors don't know. A lot of these pastors are backdoor. However you want to explain that. Go ahead.
And the prophets prophesied by Baal.
And the prophets prophesy of the devil. The stuff that we just brought out, that I just brought out right here. They use the scriptures as it is written, but they twist it and add to the word. God says, don't add to my word. Go ahead.
And walk after things that do not profit.
And they walk after things that don't profit. Let me give you something real quick. Christmas, that don't profit, because that ain't of the Bible. Easter, that don't profit. That's not of the Bible. They prophesy of Baal. Independence Day, you were slaves during Independence Day. 1776, guess where we were at? Still picking cotton. We had to wake up that very morning and get whipped. What else? New Year's, that ain't the real New Year. What's another one?
Oh man,
I'm losing them now. Valentine's Day, that ain't real either. All of them holidays have nothing to do with God. That's when they prophesy of the Baal. That's what hinders our unity. You know. So go ahead.
Right. So I mean, just to back officer up, go to get a Malachi 2:7 real quick, just to show you what's supposed to come out of the priest's mouth. The priest supposed to be teaching God's words, okay? That's something that's supposed to bring us in unity. Yeah, think about it. We're supposed to come together in unity and hear God's words, right? Read.
This is the book of Malachi, chapter 2 and verse 7. For the priest's lips should keep knowledge.
Hear that? Said the priest's lips, his lips, right, should keep knowledge, right? Knowledge meaning coming out from somewhere, read.
And they should seek the law.
The who?
The law at his mouth.
So the law and the knowledge is going into the same thing. The lips, and they should seek the law out of his mouth. It's telling you it's all in one and the same. So that's what the pastor's supposed to be teaching. God's law, statutes, and commandments, okay? That's what we're supposed to be doing when we come together, okay? And when you go back to Zephaniah 2 and 1 real quick. Go back there one more time real quick. So it's showing you when we come gather ourselves together, right? You got it?
This is the book of Zephaniah, chapter 2 and verse 1. Gather yourselves together, yea, gather together, O nation not desired.
So God is telling us to come together as a nation, okay? We that nation that's not desired, we supposed to come together and unified under Christ, right? That's like what we got here with the name of our church, Israel United in Christ, okay? So that's what that's going into. So now, go back to Psalms 83 real quick. Psalms 83 and start at verse 3. Psalms 83 and verse 3, just showing you about this crafty counsel, okay? You got it?
This is the book of Psalms, chapter 83 and verse 3. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people and consulted against thy hidden ones.
Who's the hidden ones? That's you blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. You the Israelites. You don't know who you are. Your name, think about it. Your name, your nationality right now is probably about 400 something years old. You got to think about it. Why is your nationality that young compared to everybody else on the earth, right? Read.
They have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation.
Right, said, come let us cut them off from being a nation, meaning cut them off from having unity. Okay, cut them off from their God. Cut them off from what they believe in, the culture, all that stuff. Cut them off, read.
That the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance.
So now when you take God's law, statutes, and commandments, guess what? You become a Gentile state of mind. That's what your mindset is. You stuck into a Gentile state of mind. That's why a lot of y'all say, oh, I'm a Gentile. You ain't no Gentile. You the chosen people, okay? Read.
For they have consulted together with one consent.
So now they have consulted together, right? They all come in one consult together and one consent, right? Meaning one in the same mindset. No matter how many wars, how many drama, this stuff going on right now with you got Trump and you got Ukraine president. They going bickering back and forth. You got all these different nations. They may have these wars and stuff that take place, but guess what? They all in one consent about keeping you not dumbed down to not know who you are. Read.
They are confederate against thee.
They are what?
Confederate against thee.
So let's get the definition of confederate real quick. Get that definition I sent you. Because we got to find out what confederate. We always see what you call a Confederate flag, what we call the rebel flag. But let's see what this confederate means, because this is not what you call it, a word that we use today. You know what I'm saying? We just look at it together. All these nations said we got to come together in one mindset to keep the Israelites down, keep them not to know who they are, not to know who their God is, and we got to give them false names, false nationalities. Right? Read.
An accomplice.
And what?
An accomplice.
So they come together, secret or illegal, and accomplice together. Right? That's what they're doing right there. They come and they have those meetings. We ain't got nobody in the League of Nations to represent our nation. Remember, we the nation not desired, right? So why is there no faces that look like us to represent us there, right? So you got all the other nations, they speak, they talk about what happens in their country, how they can come together, how they can do things. If there's some issues, they can hash those issues out up there amongst those 10 common markets or NATO or whatever, the League of Nations. But we ain't got nobody there to represent us. But I guarantee you can see fake people of color that's in those lands. You go to Iraq, there's black Afro-Iraqis, right? There's black Afro-Iranians, right? All of them, even in India, all these different countries. You go to Europe, you got a lot of people from the islands that live in Europe, from Haiti, that live in France. You got people that's from Jamaica and all them those islands that's from those British islands, right? They live in England, right? You gotta think why you see those people when you go on what do you call it, a vacation or something like that. You start seeing people look like you over there. Why are they over there? They were slaves over there. They were put in slaves. They were put in slavery. Then you had the sub-Saharan slave trade. Those that you see in the so-called Middle East, that's where they came from. They got taken by foot and walked over by foot. Some took them by ships as well and took them to India. And even you go to the Philippines, all them different countries, guess what? We got people scattered all over there. Like the bishop and them find our brothers and sisters in Papua New Guinea, right? You go ahead, obviously.
Yeah, they have even today, right? A lot of people like chocolate, like the candy chocolate.
Yeah.
A lot of people like chocolate. They have this documentary I suggest y'all watch called The Dark Side of Chocolate. It's by Sterling Documentaries. The Dark Side of Chocolate. The Netherlands and Germany, Germany primarily, buy the most chocolate from Africa, right? And then they like what is 199,000 tons of cocoa beans or something like that they get, and they bring it up there. But this is where it comes into what you're saying. They have a lot of human trafficking that they do when they go over to the west coast of Africa, right? And they get them and they pay some of the villages there over there in Mali and in Ghana and the Ivory Coast, and they grab them and bring them over to their I don't know what the name of the actual, I guess the cocoa leaves or whatever.
Yeah. Oh, you talking about the
fruit?
It's like a fruit called what is it? The cocoa plant.
Yeah.
Not the leaves. The cocoa
plant.
The leaves. That's another plant that they make cocaine out of.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm thinking about chocolate. That's what I'm trying to think. So they bring them to those plantations and force them to do labor with that. And then that chocolate that Germany's buying 199,000 tons of, they have forced slave labor that they human trafficked. So that's even going on today.
That's that crafty council right there.
Yep.
Hey, and our people, look, we eating the chocolate. We go there. Think about it. You got a famous you got Hershey chocolate. You got what's that? It's a place in Pennsylvania. I'm trying to remember. They call it what is it, Hershey Park or whatever. You know.
In Pennsylvania.
In Pennsylvania up that way. So I mean, you got all that stuff, all that chocolate. Guess what? They get it off the backs of our people. You know, like when you just bring it out. You know, a lot of our people don't know there's a lot of human trafficking taking place, and they sending the people over there to work hard labor all day, all night. You know. Picking the chocolate from that cocoa plant, okay? But I want you to go back to what we just read there real quick in Psalms 83. You got that for me,
Yes,
Ben?
sir. This is the book of Psalms, chapter 83 and verse 5.
Mm-hmm.
For they have consulted together with one consent. They are confederate against thee.
So now we know what that confederate, meaning they all in one consent in mind to keep the Israelites, keep the blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans down. Think about why are we the biggest consumers here in America, right? Or wherever we live at, wherever we scattered about, we are the biggest consumers all over the world, right? So let's find out who's in charge of all this stuff. Read verse 6.
The tabernacles of Edom.
Right, the tabernacles of who?
Of Edom.
Right, so now who is Edom? You know what I'm saying? The biblical name of Edom is the so-called the Caucasian race, right? That's their biblical name. Their forefather name was Esau. Esau's name was changed to Edom, okay? And his people became the Edomites. Read.
And the Ishmaelites.
The Ishmaelites. That's the Arabs today, okay? That's when we said we got people over there in Iraq and Iran, even Saudi Arabia. You know, they still got a slave trade going on right now. You know, you might say human trafficking, but really slaves. You know what I'm saying? That they got our people cut. They taking them from Africa and bringing them over there and still whooping them upside the head and stuff, just like they did back in the days. You know, read.
Of Moab.
Moab is the Chinese people, okay? And then also you got to look at too in the communities we live in. So you got Edom, they mentioned, you know, they got all the businesses, they own everything. You got the Ishmaelites, guess what? They own a lot of the gas stations and stuff like that. Then you got Moab, the Chinese, they got all the Chinese restaurants, you know, they feeding you dog and cat, and, you know, you name it, all the abomination. Read on.
And the Hagarenes.
The Hagarenes that's going into other Nilotic tribes, like African tribes, you know what I'm saying? That is actually native to that land, okay? Though they're not the same people, okay? The Hagarenes, read.
Gebal.
Gebal is more African nations, okay? This is like going into, you know, the ancient Egyptians, like you would see some of the people, the Sudanese and the Watusis in them, right? Read.
And Ammon.
And Ammon, right? Ammon is your Japanese people today. Okay, you got your Japanese restaurants. You know, you want to get you some some noodles and rice and all that stuff. Hey, oh, this is also going into the Koreans too. The Koreans fall under Ammon as well. All right, read.
And Amalek.
It says, and Amalek. Amalek is the ones that stole your identity. Okay, those are the ones that call themselves Israelis. Okay, Israelis. Okay, that's what that's going into. Those are not God's chosen people. Read.
The Philistines.
The Philistines. These are more, those going into like the people in Palestine today. Okay, read.
With the inhabitants of Tyre.
Tyre is, that's more like another land that's, I want to say that's outside of Israel today. Read.
Asher.
Ashur. Talking about Ashur.
Also is joined with them.
Right. Ashur is what you call the Kurds and the people up in Turkey today. Okay, that they live in like we call the northern part of Iraq and northern part of Iran and all that. All up in that area, those are called Ashur. Those are your Kurds, and that's why those don't get along with the ones in the south. The ones in the south are your Chaldeans. Okay, read.
They have hope in the children of Lot.
Right, Lot. That's going into more of the Asian nations. You know what I'm saying? That goes into like what they're talking about, the Chinese and all them. So you got people in Vietnam and Cambodia. Not the not talking about the ethnic people that's there, but you got people that invaded there during the time. That's where they had that Vietnam War. So it's going into them. Those people they came from China. Okay, there was a different tribe of them, but they came down there and invaded. But it's going into all them as a confederate against us to keep us down. Okay, to keep the children of God down. Why? Because they jealous. They ain't the chosen people. Okay, you gotta remember, we didn't choose God. God chose us. Give me that in Deuteronomy 7:6 real quick. So we got to prove, who is the chosen people? Everybody's not chosen. Okay, so because Abraham had a lot of kids, but we got to find out who is the chosen people from Abraham. Read what you got.
This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 7 and verse 6. For thou art an holy people unto the Lord thy God.
So we are holy people unto the Lord thy God. Holy mean to be separate. Okay, read.
The Lord thy God have chosen thee to be a special people unto himself.
He said, I've chosen you to be a special people to me. Okay, just like you woke up this morning to put on the outfit that you have on, to put on a certain hat or shoes, you pick that particular clothing item for that day. You know what I'm saying? Or you may have multiple cars. You say, I chose this car to drive for my Saturday car or Sunday car or whatever. This is something that you pick and choose, but God said, I chose you to be my people. We didn't choose God to be our God, but he chose us to be his people. Read. Above
all people that are upon the face of the earth.
So that's not equality right there. He said, I chose you above all people upon the face of the earth. Is God racist? Yeah, he chose a certain people outside of everybody else that's on the earth. Read.
But because the Lord loved you.
Because who?
Because the Lord loved you.
But means only because God loved you. Israel, you blacks, Hispanics, Native Americans, read.
And because he would keep the oath which he has sworn unto your fathers.
Right. Who's our fathers? Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Okay? So that's what he's going into. I swore oath to your fathers. You know what I'm saying? That you're going to be my people. You're going to inherit my land. Remember, he showed them in a vision, said, you're going, all this right here, I showed to your father. And guess what? Your children, your descendants that I'm going to choose, they're going to inhabit all that land. Okay? All this, I'm going to give to them. Okay? By inheritance. Okay? I'm going to touch on that as well. Read on.
Have the Lord brought you out with a mighty hand.
Right. So we were brought out of Egypt, out of the mighty hand of who?
Of the Lord. And redeem you out of the house of bondmen.
The house of bondmen, right? Meaning what? Was more to it in there? Yeah. Read.
From the hand of Pharaoh, king of Egypt.
Right. Cause remember, he took us from Pharaoh. You know what I'm saying? That was another dark-skinned nation that oppressed a dark-skinned nation, the Israelites. Okay. So with two different nations. And the proof is, everybody know the ancient Egyptians were dark-skinned. That's your Watusis and your Sudanese and all them today, right? Or those Nilotic tribes. They still there in the land. They black as, they dark as I don't know what, extra dark chocolate.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So if Moses could be the Pharaoh's grandson, that means Moses had to be dark. He had to be dark as I don't know what, just like the rest of them. So let you know we was always a people of color. Okay, we all different shades of brown. Okay, so now go. I want you to give me the Let me see it real quick. Go back to Sirach. No, go back to Jeremiah 17:4 real quick. Jeremiah 17:4. Because remember, I'm going to get back to that thing about the heritage. Read what you got.
It's the book of Jeremiah, chapter 17, and verse 4.
Uh-huh.
And thou, even thyself, shalt discontinue from thy heritage.
Right. So now we're going to discontinue from our heritage. Right. Now I want you to go to Sirach 17:11. I just want to get back to my point real quick. Go to Sirach 17:11 just to show them what the heritage is.
This is the book of Sirach, chapter 17, and verse 11.
Uh-huh.
Besides this, he gave them knowledge and the law of life for an inheritance.
Right, he gave us knowledge and the law of life for an heritage. Okay, so now give me the definition of heritage. We got to find out what is this definition, you know what I'm saying? Because we know the biblical definition, you know what I'm saying, what the heritage was, you know, what God gave to us. Remember, he gave us the land. When we read about that in the book of Joshua, he gave us all that land of inheritance. He gave us, you know, the law, statutes, and commandments to live by. You know, what we need to do, how to you know, bring, you know, how to live in the kingdom amongst each other. Read.
Mm-hmm. Heritage definition: property that is or may be inherited in inheritance.
Right. So let you know, heritage, a property that is or may be inherited. Right, an inheritance. Right, going into the land of Israel. Okay, that's what that's going. That's what we inherited, which was the land of Canaan. We took them Canaanites, we beat them up, killed a lot of them, and we inherited that land, okay? Go to the other part where it says value objects.
Value objects and qualities such as cultural traditions.
Such as cultural traditions. What was our traditions, right? You had high holy days. We had a Sabbath day that we had to keep every week, a weekly Sabbath. We have a monthly new moon. We had a new moon, meaning the full moon, okay? Not the dark moon, the moon that you can see. And the moon, you know what I'm saying, that lets you know what the word, because when you read about the moon goes into the month, okay? And that's how they would symbolize it, let you know that's the first and the beginning of the month, okay? Not a dark moon, because you can't see that. Think about a young child, and when a young child see a moon full, he or she going to point at that thing and say, ooh, look, mommy, look at the light, look at the moon there. It's going to catch their attention. If it's a dark moon, it ain't going to catch their attention. Why you think the wolves howl at the moon? Why you think the coral reefs are active during a full moon? Why the waves roar during a full moon? Okay, so now read that other definition there real quick, where it talks about more of that value objects. Start there.
Value objects and qualities such as cultural tradition,
Read.
unspoiled countryside, and historic buildings that have been passed down from previous generations.
Right. So this is a generation thing. Remember, from Abraham, from Isaac to Jacob, his 12 sons, which makes up the 12 tribes of Israel. All we supposed to be keeping these things as a tradition. Like we got the fringes, the law of fringes, right? That we supposed to have that. You know, that's what these fringes are here on the bottom of our shirt. That's you see the so-called Native Americans, right? Today they have that tradition, but they don't understand why they wear that. So right, real quick, let's get that. I didn't have it in my notes. Give me that the long fringes. You know what I want in numbers. You got that numbers.
15.
Yep, 1538.
It's the book of Numbers, chapter 15 and verse 38.
Read.
Speak unto the children of Israel and bid them that they make them fringes in the borders of their garments.
So this is a law that was given to the Israelites. He said, bid them. Bid them means to command them to make them fringes in the borders of their garments. Because when you read the history above, there was somebody that broke the commandments, okay? So they had to put him to death. So the Most High said, guess what? I'm going to impute and put this in the children of Israel to also to separate y'all from the Egyptians. Because at the time we was in the wilderness, we left Egypt, we was wearing Egyptian clothes. We was wearing them man dresses and stuff like that. We was wearing the same thing that the women were wearing. All of us had mini skirts on. You might as well say, I'm going to just say skirts. So we was dressing just like them, but God said, no, I want y'all to be different from them. And you're going to dress like me. Read.
Throughout their generations. And they...
You hear that? Throughout their generation. That's letting you know this is a generational heritage that is passed down and we're supposed to keep this law and this heritage. Okay, read.
And that they put upon the fringe of the borders a ribbon of blue.
So that's where you see that ribbon of blue. You see that in some of the Native Americans' garments. You know, they had a ribbon of blue on there. But if you ask them today, they do not know why. But guess what? If you Native American and you listening to what we got on Oak 93.5, hey, guess what? You finding out why you have fringes on. Okay, read.
And it shall be unto you for a fringe, that you may look upon it and remember all the commandments.
Hear that? We got to look upon this thing to remember all the commandments. You know, there's so many law, statutes, and commandments that we have to do, but this is a reminder to keep you from sinning. Read.
Of the Lord, and do them.
And what?
And do them.
Okay.
And that ye seek not after your own heart.
So that way you don't lean into your own understanding to do what you want to do. To think what you, because you're going outside of God when you try to lean into your own understanding, thinking you right. Read.
And your own eyes after which you used to go a whoring.
After what you used to go a whoring, because you will lean off. If you fall out the truth, you know what I'm saying? We tell everybody, you fall out the truth, you don't fell out of life. You know, you ain't the same. And guess what? You're going to resort back to your old vomit. Read.
That ye may remember and do all my commandments, and be holy unto your God.
Be holy, be separate unto your God. Meaning don't go into idolatry, into worshiping other God, other false deities. Read.
I am the Lord your God, which brought you out of the land of Egypt to be your God.
Hear that? I brought you out of Egypt to be your God. Remember, I had chosen you, according to Deuteronomy 7:6. You didn't choose me, I chose you from the beginning. So that thing is that heavy there. You got something there, officer?
Yeah, I was going. I want you to roll. I was getting on some laws. I was looking at some of these things.
Okay.
Because I want y'all to think about what's being said, as well. I want you to really put into perspective of what brings unity together, right? Really put into perspective what brings unity together. We are, as a whole, we are a lawless people. We are a lawless people. We do what we want when we want, and we don't really care who tells us what. We do what we want, but God has said. Remember, earlier we had read Deuteronomy 28, and if we didn't do what he said that we had to do, which is what he gave us to do, then we will go into slavery, right? The things that is being brought out here is so that way it can correct that path, so that way you can get reunified, so that way we can reunify, right? One of those things is this, Leviticus 19 and 17.
This is the book of Leviticus, chapter 19 and verse 17.
Go ahead.
Thou shalt not hate thy brother in thy heart.
Right, so hatred, that starts in your mind, right? It starts there. You don't voice it usually when it starts out. You don't really voice it all the way. You have this grudge sometimes that bears into you. It could be over small things, like people destroy each other over someone stepping on their shoes or a pencil dropping or whatever the case is. Hatred grows like that, right? Strife. It says, don't hate your brother in your heart. Don't hate your sister. Don't hate. For husbands, don't hate your wife. Wife, don't hate your husband in your heart. Read that again.
Thou shalt not hate thy brother in thy heart.
Go ahead.
Thou shalt in any wise rebuke thy neighbor.
If you see your brother or sister going off, correct them. Check them on what they're going off on. And now all correction, but depending on how you do it, doesn't always have to be like hard, right? It can be, you probably shouldn't do this, that, and the third. Sometimes you do have to come at them sideways and be like, hey, look, you know, like just if a car was about to hit them and you yank them out the street. If their arm broke, at least they're alive. You still have to give it to them like that. Rebuke is good, so that way we can unify. Go ahead.
And not suffer sin upon him.
And not let them keep doing what they're doing. I'm going to give you a good one. Like, for example, right? Leviticus 18, jump back one chapter and read verse 22.
This book of Leviticus, chapter 18 and verse 22.
Now, this whole chapter in particular, chapter 18, goes into the laws of uncleanness and fornication, right? Go ahead.
Thou shalt not lie with mankind.
And adultery. But go ahead, read it again.
Thou shalt not lie with mankind,
right,
as with womankind.
Why?
It is an abomination.
You need to rebuke that, right? You need to be able to rebuke that if you see your brother, your sister going off. It's not, oh, I can do what I want. God understands my heart. Well, he knows your heart is desperately wicked. How about that? He knows that your heart is desperately wicked and you do what you want. That's why he gave you commandments to say, don't do this. Go back to Leviticus 19 now.
This is book of Leviticus, chapter 19 and verse 17.
Go ahead.
Thou shalt not hate thy brother in thy heart.
Read.
Thou shalt not in any wise
read that again. It says, thou shalt in
any wise rebuke thy neighbor, and not suffer sin upon him.
Read.
Thou shalt not avenge nor bear any grudge against the children of thy people.
So you shouldn't avenge the children, like take it upon yourself to avenge nor bear any grudge against the children of thy people. Oftentimes when I read that part right there, I think about somebody. Let's say you are out in the streets. You grew up in the hood. You grew up in the streets, and whether you were in gang activity or not doesn't really matter. But one of your boys, one of your girls wound up getting killed, right? Wound up being unalived, as some would say, right? And then now you and your boys or whomever else go and try to get revenge on whoever else did it. All you're doing is furthering blood. All you're doing is just furthering the problem, because now who you just went go get a hit out on, who wound up doing hurt to you, now they're gonna want to do retaliating and do the same to you, and this is just gonna keep on going back and forth. That's where here we are today.
It's that get back spirit.
Yeah, it's that get back. We gotta stop that. Understand this. Nobody dies without the Lord say so. Even if you know who the person, like for example, finish this. I'm gonna give another scripture. Finish this.
But thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself.
Love your neighbor the same way you would love yourself. But the problem is, a lot of us don't love self. So we treat our neighbors like crap. We don't know self, so we treat our neighbors like crap. We think, the problem is, we worship a God that doesn't look like us. So we see little worth within ourselves. When we turn to what this book says and then follow the God of this book that does look like us, then we start to see more self-worth. Then we start to see self-worth and then see our people are more worthy than what they claim themselves to be. But the problem is, when we don't see self-worth, we fail to do things like this. Leviticus 5:1.
Leviticus 5:1. You got it there, officer? I mean, soldier.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
This is the book of Leviticus, chapter 5 and verse 1. And if a soul sin...
So if a soul sin, remember you have to rebuke it, right? But if a soul sin, go ahead.
And hear the voice of swearing.
And you hear the voice of swearing. So you hear, for example, I just mentioned about murder, right? You hear about it. Don't keep quiet on it. You're supposed to make mention of that. You hear about, for example, they have adult, like let's say where we at in the body where we're at, right? If there is some sin going on, such as adultery, we expect, and it should be expected because the Lord expects, that if you hear about any wrongdoing, any sin, any iniquity, you bring that thing out. You bring it up, right? Go ahead.
And if a soul sin, and hear the voice of swearing,
Read.
And is a witness, whether he have seen or known of it.
Whether he had seen or known of it, he's a witness of it. Right, go ahead.
If he do not utter it,
right,
then he shall bear his iniquity.
And you know what people call that in the hood? They call that a snitch. Well, God blesses a snitch. I'll tell you right now. He blesses a snitch. He said snitches get stitches. No, snitches stay alive. The ones who get stitches and wind up being put underground is the ones who never said anything.
That's right.
You need to be mindful about how you move. That's called loving your neighbor as yourself. Here's another one real quick. 1 Corinthians 7. 1 Corinthians 7. I'm just building off because he said, also brought out the fringes. I'm building off of that. 1 Corinthians chapter 7. Read verse 1.
This is the book of 1 Corinthians, chapter 7 and verse 1.
Right.
Now concerning the things whereof you wrote unto me.
Read.
It is good for a man not to touch a woman.
Right. It's good for a man not to touch a woman. Now, what is this talking about? Let's see. Is it sounding like you just like touch with your fingertip, like boop, you poke them in the arm? What is this talking about? Go ahead.
Nevertheless, to avoid fornication.
That's what it's talking about. Fornication. Fornication is when you having sex and you're not married. That's fornication. Go ahead.
Let every man have his own wife.
Let every man have his own wife, not girlfriend, wife. Go ahead.
And let every woman have her own husband.
One and one. There's no polygyny, no polygamy, no sharing, none of that. It's garbage. Let every man have his own one wife. And let every woman have her own one husband. Go ahead.
Let the husband render unto the wife due benevolence. And likewise, also the wife unto the husband.
Right, because their bodies it's supposed to be one flesh. They're supposed to come together one flesh. That bed that that's undefiled, is them. That's one flesh. That's because they're married.
Hey, look, that's that unity.
That's that unity.
That's that marital unity. But that's the topic, unity.
That's it. Go ahead.
The wife have not power of her own body, but the husband.
Right. The wife doesn't have power of the body, but the husband. So whenever he wants, he can. Go ahead.
And likewise, also the husband have not power of his own body.
Go ahead.
But the wife.
And whenever she wants, she can. Go ahead.
Defraud ye not one another.
Don't defraud one another. Don't. I be hearing like even like all right, people out in the world, right? I be seeing like TikToks and whatever, and usually they be now birthdays are wicked. Birthdays are not according to God, but I be seeing TikToks and whatnot, and they be talking about, oh, I get this special thing on my birthday and on Christmas or whatever the case is. It's not supposed to be only on your birthday or Christmas, which God ain't with anyways. But whenever you want, you can get from your wife as long as it's between you and her. Whatever she wants, as long as it's between you and her, she can have as long as it's between y'all two. Don't bring none of that other extra stuff inside of you. Go ahead.
Except it be with consent of it for a time.
Which is?
That ye may give yourself to fasting and prayer.
To fasting and prayer is the only reasons why you won't. Go ahead.
And coming together again, that Satan tempt you not for your incontinence.
Incontinency. So now jump down real quick. I want you to read verse. Where is that? Oh man, I jumped to the wrong book. If the unbelieving depart, that's what I want. Jump down.
Yep, if that unbelieving depart. Yeah, that's what that's going into. You got that in 1 Corinthians 7?
Start at 12. That's what it is.
Verse 12.
Read.
But to the rest speak I not. The Lord, if any brother.
No. It says, but to the rest speak I, not the Lord. Go ahead.
But to the rest speak I, not the Lord.
Read.
If any brother have a wife that believeth not.
So now let's say you are coming into this faith and you believe in what the Bible's saying as it is written, but your spouse doesn't. Go ahead.
And she be pleased to dwell.
And she be pleased to dwell with him, right? Meaning that you believe, but your spouse doesn't. However, they're going to do whatever the Bible says because they love you and they want the relationship to work, right? That's what it means, pleased to dwell. Go ahead.
With him, let him not put her away.
Let him not put her away. Because there's a believer in the house and it's possible that they can change. Go ahead.
And the woman, which having a husband, that believeth not.
Read.
And if he be pleased to dwell with her.
And if he is pleased to dwell with her, go ahead.
Let her not leave him.
Let her not leave him.
For the unbelieving husband is sanctified by the wife.
So all of this, you know what this plays into? This means you have to be a good example. What this is talking about is if you have an unbeliever in your house and you believe in the Bible as it is written, right? If you're a good example to the one that's directly in your house, supposed to be your same flesh, your example can wind up changing that behavior in your spouse, which would then cause what? Unity. That will cause your what was twain to be now one flesh, and then the nation can be healed off of you having a good example. Finish off.
And the unbelieving wife is sanctified by the husband.
It's sanctified by the husband. Go ahead.
Also were your children unclean.
Go ahead.
But now are they holy.
Because when there's two divided thoughts inside of the house, that makes your children get raised with some impurities. That outside of the sin that every child and everybody's born with, the impurities that they would have inside of their soul, inside their spirit, inside of their mind, is because the one parent says, I want to celebrate Christmas, and another one says, I want to celebrate Passover. One says that she has to wear a dress. The other one, he out doing what he want with different women. There's two divided thoughts about what they should grow up believing, what they should grow up doing. And when you do that, that forces disunity. That's not loving your neighbor as yourself. Mm-hmm. But when you apply this, then we can actually get better. That's it.
Yeah, give me, to add to that, get Amos 3:3. We're going to land back off that real quick, what he's going into, because if the husband and the wife not in agreement together, you know, hey, it's chaos and the house is divided. So like we here in North Carolina, right? You know, everybody know about the two blues. You got the North UNC Tar Heels, the Carolina, what they call the Carolina Blue. Then you got the Duke Blue Devils, which is the Duke Blue. So the house is divided, and here in the state, right? So when they playing each other, I guess they got a game coming up soon or whatever. But hey, everybody, you know, either you're a Duke fan or you're a Carolina fan. So you go to other states, they have what they call the rivalry games. So this same thing is what's happening in the household with the kids. Read what you got.
This is the book of Amos, chapter 3 and verse 3. Mm-hmm. Can two walk together Except they be agreed.
He said, can two walk together except they be agreed, right? Because if you got one belief in the house, if this wife is let's say, for example, if this, your husband, he's a Muslim. This other one, your wife is a Christian. They're not going to come together. They're going to have arguments. They're going to be bickering. Why? There's two beliefs. There's two different traditions that they got going on. That's the same thing, you know, you coming back to your heritage, and you an Israelite, you find out the law, statutes, and commandments to keep here in the Bible. Guess what? Now you have your wife, she's still in the midst of Christianity. Guess what? She ain't gonna, she don't want to, for some reason, y'all in the same book, but she's being taught differently. You know, her mind is being corrupted, and she don't want to keep the laws. But I'm going to tell you why. Go to Colossians 2:8 real quick. So this is what's being in America, right? Or you might say the whole world, because this Christianity doctrine has been spread throughout the whole earth, right? And we still ain't seen the end come. But read what you got.
This is the book of Colossians, chapter 2 and verse 8.
Beware,
lest any man spoil you through philosophy and vain deceit.
So the Bible tells us, beware, be cautious. Listen up. He said, beware, lest what?
Unless any man spoil you through philosophy and vain deceit.
Hear that? Let somebody spoil you, lie to you, trick you into vain deceit, meaning vain is nothing. Okay, deceit is lies. Read.
After the tradition of man.
After the what?
After the tradition of man.
The tradition of man is Christmas, your birthday, Easter, Thanksgiving, all that stuff, man. We didn't do none of that stuff. All that stuff is man-made tradition. Read.
After the rudiments of the world.
I mean, it is worldly, right? This is after the rudiment of what we was taught here. We wasn't keeping those things, but guess what? Now we just started keeping those things, and it become an American tradition. Okay, once we came here and once they destroyed us, conquered us, and divided us, we done forgot our way. We lost our way. Why? Because we don't have that unity, and all we know is what our slave masters taught us. Read.
And not after Christ.
Hear that? And it's not after Christ. If you want to know what Christ did, read the Bible. He'll show you what high holy days he kept. You know, the Feast of Tabernacles. You got Hanukkah. Okay, Hanukkah is the Feast of Dedication. Hanukkah is just dedication in Hebrew. Okay, all this stuff is mentioned here in the Bible. This is your manual. This is the book of life. This is what we're supposed to be living by. Okay, and govern ourselves by. So, I want you to go back to that definition real quick of heritage. Pull that up again, the definition of heritage. Yes, I want you to read this part right here where it starts at, where it says Christians. Did you see the last definition?
Christians, or the ancient Israelites, seen as God's chosen people.
Hear that? It said Christians, right? Christians means you are a follower of Christ. You know what I'm saying? Give me that scripture there about when the disciples were first called Christians.
Acts 11:26.
Get that for me. Acts 11:26. So we're gonna show you when the word Christian was first brought out. Okay, it was mentioned here in the Bible. Okay, so you got that?
Yes. This is the book of Acts, chapter 11 and verse 26.
Read.
And when he had found him, he brought unto him Antioch.
In Antioch. So they in Antioch, right? We had a church there in Antioch. Read.
And it came to pass that a whole year they assembled themselves.
Right. I didn't mean to say a church, but a temple. Okay, we had a temple. We had a temple where the Jews went and dwelt at to come worship. Read.
With the church and taught much people. And the disciples were called Christians first in Antioch.
Hear that? The disciples were called Christians first in Antioch. Christians meaning you a follower of Christ. Okay, they were teaching the doctrine that Christ taught. Okay. So now go back to that definition that says the generation of Christians.
Christians, or the ancient Israelites.
So now why I gotta say the ancient Israelites? So if the people over there in the land, if they are called Israelis, why they don't call themselves Israelites, right? And they all call themselves the Jews, but they don't know what tribe they're from. There's 3 tribes that make up the Jews: Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. Okay, they don't know which ones they are. Then they don't know where the lost 10 tribes are at. No, we know, the Bible tells us, but they don't have the understanding of that. All they go by is that Kabbalah, the other book they got? Kabbalah, I forget, it's another little book they have. The Talmud, the Talmud book. The Talmud, that's what they go by, that book. That book is not biblical, okay? That's a book of witchcraft. All right, so it's telling you, says the Christians or the ancient Israelites. So let you know they're different and making a difference between them over there in the land and talking about the true Israelites in the Bible, right? Read.
As God's chosen people.
Seen as God's chosen people. But we read it Deuteronomy 7 and 6, okay? So now we got this right. Let's find out what took place. What happened? I want you to go to Luke chapter 21 and start at verse 20. Luke 21 and 20. So there's something that happened symbolic in his army, okay? This is when the Romans came and they besieged Jerusalem, okay? And they surrounded them. You see the Roman armies come and read?
Then know that the desolation thereof is not.
So the desolation meaning is near. The desolation meaning the destruction is near. What I prophesied and told you how the temple going to get torn down and everything, all this stuff about to take place. Read.
Then let them which are in Jerusalem, or Judea, flee to the mountains.
He said those that's in the land of Judea, he said y'all need to go to the mountains. What mountains he talking about? The Sinai mountains of Egypt, okay? Y'all need to flee and go into Africa. Why? This is what Christ went to when his forefather, when his dad Joseph and his mother Mary, when they left Israel, running from Herod, they went into Egypt. Why? Because they can blend in with the other dark-skinned nations, the Hamitic, Nilotic tribes. Read.
And let them which are in the midst of it depart out.
So if you live in the midst of it, hey, y'all need to depart out. Do not come back here. Why? Because something about to take place. Read.
And let not them that are in the countries enter therein too.
Right. So you that's in the other country that you come there 3 times a year, you know, those 3 times a year is going into Passover, Pentecost, and Tabernacles. Okay. When y'all come there to worship on those three times a year, hey, don't come there at all. Then of course, you know, you have the other high holy days. People come there. They got family there. Because we were scattered abroad. I'm going to touch on that as well. So he said, do not come back there. He said, go ahead on the leave. Read.
For these be the days of vengeance.
Meaning payback, vengeance. What? From the Most High. Most High said, hey, you broke these commandments and now judgment's got to take place. Prophecy's got to happen. Read.
That all things which are written may be fulfilled.
That's what it's going into. Everything that's written must be fulfilled, okay? The scriptures cannot be broken. Understand that. Read.
But woe to them that are with child.
So it tells you, woe meaning death or destruction unto them that have child. Have a little kid. Why? Read.
And to them that give suck in those days.
Right. So now you breastfeeding, you a mother that breastfeeds, you got those little ones, and those days and those times is going to be crazy. Read.
For there shall be great distress in the land.
Right. So now what it's talking about, that great distress is talking about when the Romans ransacked Jerusalem, when they surrounded kids, the babies in them, guess what? We started eating them. You know what I'm saying? They start looking tasty, and we end up going desperate, and we started eating our children. That's what it's talking about, that great distress, and woe to those little ones during that time. Read.
And wrath upon this people.
The wrath meaning the war that was going to happen amongst our people. Read.
And they shall fall by the edge of the sword.
It says, because some of us stayed there and didn't listen to what Christ said. They stayed there and went through that, and they fought. They tried to fight against the Romans. That's like you trying to fight against America today. They got tanks. I don't care what you got in your neighborhood, what gang you, Blood, Crip, Vice Lord, Gangster Disciple, Latin King. Hey, you can't fight the United States Army. You know, the same thing, we couldn't fight against the Roman army at that time. We didn't have no military might and power I mean, think about how you going to come up there with a Uzi and a gun to try to shoot something that's bulletproof.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That they shoot you, make a little fart noise, hey, you blowing smithereens. Yeah, shout out to Officer B. Shael on that. But read verse 24 again.
And they shall fall by the edge of the sword, and shall be led away captive into all nations.
So who you know was led away captive unto all nations? Who did that happen? So when you led away captive, meaning you were slave. You captives of war, they chained you up and you was led captive unto all nations. That didn't happen to everybody. So who did this happen, right? So read on.
In Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles.
So trodden down means walked upon. The people that's there in the land are the Gentiles, okay? They're not the true biblical Israelites. Because the old president back in the days of Egypt, he said, how did the Jews leave black and they came back white? He said, we will never respect them there because they're not the chosen people. They're not the people of that supposed to be native to that land. Read.
Until the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled.
Until the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled. Till that prophecy, till Christ come back. Hey, they'll be there. That's why there's always wars, drama. You got that stuff with the Gaza Strip. All this stuff is Bible prophecy. That's what you see taking place there in the so-called Middle East or in the land of Israel today. Okay, so now how do we get scattered? Right. So go back to I want you to go to Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 64. Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 64. So this is what happened when we got scattered. Read.
This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28 and verse 64. And the Lord shall scatter thee among all people.
So God said we're going to be scattered amongst all people. Like it said here, we would, when we just read in Luke chapter 21 and verse 24, it said we will be led away captive unto all nations. Remember that nation not desired that we read back in Zephaniah 2 and 1? That nation not desired, you're going to be led away captive. That crafty counsel. Okay, you're going to be separated, broken up. You're not going to be unified or have that unity. So while you're amongst there, guess what? You're going to get scattered. Read.
And the Lord shall scatter thee among all people, from the one end of the earth even unto the other.
So as we came from the eastern hemisphere all the way over here to the western hemisphere, or some of us that was here, the native tribe from the western hemisphere, got taken over there to the eastern hemisphere. Like you read about Pocahontas and all this. That was a real she was real, and she got took it over to Europe. You know what I'm saying? In slavery. Some of us got taken back to Africa, but you know, in slavery. It's a lot of crazy mess that took place, man. It was big business. These ships are going back and forth, and people was at the bottom of that thing, right? So
and they have in North Carolina, they have a book. I forget the name of the book exactly, but they had on the Outer Banks, they had shipped a lot of Puerto Ricans from here in South Carolina and shipped them down to Puerto Rico. You had a lot of people that was here, they got shipped down to Puerto Rico and then further from there.
Hear that all throughout the Caribbean islands, man. That was some big business. And like, you know, you got people that came from that was in Haiti, that were slaves there. Some of them got taken to what you call Charleston, South Carolina. You got Barbados, those islands that we tried to tribe Benjamin. They got sent to work on them rice plantations as well in Charleston, South Carolina. I'm just showing you there was all type of stuff taking place amongst our people. We the ones that fit these curses that we're reading about. Read.
And there thou shalt serve other gods.
So wherever that shit docked at, and whoever your slave master was. So if your slave master was in Catholicism, guess what? You became that. You was a part of that religion. You was doing Catholicism. If your slave master was a Baptist, like most of us down here in the South, guess what? You became Baptist, okay, or Mormon. You name it. Of our people in the so-called Middle East, guess what? They became Muslims. They became, start worshiping in Islam, so they became Muslims, okay? And in East India, Hinduism, Buddhism in China, all that. We built the Great Wall of China. We did all that stuff as slaves, right? So read on.
Which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone.
Our forefathers didn't know that, right? So the two biggest religions they're talking about, wood and stone. The wood is going into the cross, the Christian cross. A lot of our people worship that thing, bow down to that. Then it goes into the stone. That's the Kaaba stone that you see in Islam. Our people in the what you call Nation of Islam, or they or I guess what you call it, they go into the real Muslim Islam religion, and they go there and make a hajj and all that stuff. They go walk around a big old stone and they kiss it and all this stupid stuff, do all these rituals that goes into idolatry. Remember, it tells us don't bow down to no graven image, like it tells us in Exodus chapter 20. So go to I want you to read that one script again. Go to Deuteronomy 28 and 68 real quick.
Just the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28 and verse 68.
Yeah, so where you was at, where the ships docked at, that's what you started worshiping, okay? Read.
And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships.
So now we got brought into slavery again. Because what was the Israelites doing in Egypt? They were in slavery. He sent Moses to help lead us out of Egypt, right? So now God told Moses, let them know this same generation, y'all going right back into Egypt again. Meaning you going back to bondage again. What way of transportation?
With ships.
Cargo slave ships. Just like how we told you, you was a commodity. You were sold. You was brought here, brought there. Read.
By the way whereof I speak unto thee.
Just like how it going to happen, how I told you, I seen this in the vision, it's going to happen. Read.
thou shalt see it no more
You
again.
won't see your homeland. You won't see Jerusalem again. Okay, read.
And there ye shall be sold unto your enemies.
And there, wherever the boats docked at, Wilmington, North Carolina, Charleston, South Carolina, New Orleans, Louisiana, Savannah, Georgia. You know, I'm just naming a few. You know what I'm saying? Mobile, Alabama. You know, hey, all those slave ports, guess what? You were sold there. That's what I'm saying. Nigga sold to Master Charles. Okay? Or nigga sold to Master Adams. You know, all this stuff. And then those last names got put on you. Read.
For bondman
For slave man.
and bondwoman.
Slave women. Uh-huh.
And no man shall buy you.
I mean, nobody going to redeem us like Officer was bringing out. Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Sojourner Truth, Harriet Tubman, all that. They said nobody was able to save us from those conditions, okay? So, you know, that's why you always have to boil your water every so often, you know what I'm saying, that come out of the faucet. But if you don't pay your water bill, who going to cut it off? Ain't the person don't look like me and you agree.
And in nakedness.
And in nakedness, the clothes on your back. You go to Macy's, right? You go to J.C. Penney's, Walmart, whatever. All those big business stores, you don't own that. It's the same people that had you in slavery. You know what I'm saying? Wherever you go in Kuwait or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Guess what? You going to them for those items and stuff. Read.
And in want of all things.
One of all things meaning whatever you're lacking, what you don't have. You don't have this. You don't have that. You don't have a college degree. You know what I'm saying? You want to go get your high school diploma, you know, a certificate. Think about it, even when you die, before you die, when you're born here, you got to get a birth certificate, you got a death certificate. But you still got to go through that system to get all those, things from that same man, right? Read. And now it tells you, and he is the subject of the matter. And you're gonna serve your enemy, and he, that same man, read.
And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck.
So you can see that there's movies, there's books, documentaries, pictures, and you name it, that you had yokes of iron upon your necks. Okay, meaning you like you had a collar on there, yoke of iron. You couldn't go nowhere. You seen the movie Django. You seen the movie 12 Years Slave or Roots, read.
Until he have destroyed thee.
So now those chains and all that stuff come off your neck. The yoke of iron come off until he had destroyed thee. When he spiritually, physically, mentally destroyed you. Now you don't have no unity. Now you're dependent on him. He like, you know what? He ain't gonna do nothing. We ain't gotta worry about him. He ain't gonna attack us. He gonna attack himself. We taught him how to hate himself. So now they grudge against each other. Mm-hmm. They do evil. Hey, you know, all this stuff takes place in our community. You know, that's why there's a lot of gentrification taking place, because we don't take care of our community. Because we took care of our community, then the price value wouldn't drop, and then they buy it up and that market that value up high. Then now you can't pay the rent in that area. Now you got to move on the outskirts. They'll kick you out, right? Read.
The Lord shall bring a nation against thee from far.
Right, so he brought this nation against us from far, right? So, you know, they came from when they came to the west coast of Africa, they came from Europe, right? That's a good little ways, you know, to sail down there. Read.
From the end of the earth, as swift as the eagle flieth.
Right, so even when they came over, and when you watch the movie Apocalypto, you remember they was coming with ships, right? They had crosses and stuff. So they came all the way from the eastern hemisphere all the way to the western hemisphere. They came looking like they came peaceful, but they had evil in their mind. They said, but like war was in their heart. I know we run out of time, but you know, war was in their heart. You know, I would like to bring the scripture, but that's what their mindset was. We're going to come in here. We're going to invade the land. We're going to force our doctrine. We're going to put our laws and everything. We're going to make treaties with them, but we're going to break them. Read.
A nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand.
So when they came, remember we were speaking Hebrew on this side of the world. They were speaking Hebrew in the west coast of Africa, or in the north part of Africa, even in Europe, because we ruled Europe for over 1,000 years. That's why it's called the Dark Ages. That's why you don't read about it, because the Moors ruled. The Moors were the Israelites. Okay, the word Moor just means black. It's a Latin word from Morano or More, whatever. That all that just means the blacks. And we didn't call ourselves that. They call us the Moors because it's a Latin word. That's what they called us. Okay, we didn't say we knew we were Israelites. You know what I'm saying? We knew who we were, but they said those are the Moors. And that's why during high school, when you read, you got your in literature, your literature class, we always read about the Renaissance period. Renaissance meaning rebirth. Look it up. look these things up. This is right after the Dark Ages. This is when they came back in power, and they the ones that teach you about that. They won't go further back. So, but they got history books that'll show you what happened, what was taking place. But guess what? Those history books are worth a lot of money right now. What you got there, officer?
Nah, hey, that was it. I had said my point about those laws. Make sure you keep those laws so that way you know exactly what you need to do in order to reunify. All right. This ain't gonna be the first time that we actually touch on some of this stuff, and God will, it won't be the last time that we hear. Right. So we're gonna definitely have more to talk about. You know.
Right. So, like, right, we're going to end it right here. I'm going to give you the credentials. You know, we IUIC Raleigh. You can email us at iuic.raleigh.nc@israelunite.org. Again, iuic.raleigh.nc@israelunite.org. Or you can contact us at 855-484-4842, extension 7098. Again, 855-484-4842. Extension 7098. We do have a school. You want to come learn? Hey, contact us. Reach out to us. We'll be more than pleasure to have you come on out there to get built up, to learn and find out more about your history.
What is a nation? Nation is family. Nation is community. Nation is men leading by example. Nation is women's support. Nation is children with role models. Nation is unity. Nation is you. It's nation time.
Be strong in the Lord. His word